day is long and the night.
Personally, I think Automatic for the People is R.E.M's best record, and there's certainly a lot of competition for that slot in their back catalogue.
When you're sure you've had enough.
Well, the name Automatic for the People is the slogan of a gentleman who runs a soul food restaurant in Athens, Georgia. And it's when you go in there and you order food, he says Automatic. And his slogan outside says Automatic for the People. And for some reason we thought it was really cool. And the fact that it was local, a little touch of home, I think made us feel good about it.
I can't really say that I have a favorite song on the record. I love Man on the Moon. It's still, however many years later, one of my favorite songs to perform live.
Andy Kaufman in the wrestling match.
Andy Kaufman was a really trailblazing comedian and someone who, when I first saw him on television as a 15-year-old, I didn't know what he was doing, but I knew there was nothing that I'd ever seen before, and I followed him reverently until his death.
Wait, I forgot. What is it? Or
one of the groups that we were hanging out with at the time was Nirvana, and Kurt Cobain was known for putting the word "yeah" into his songs a lot. And one of the things that I think I was doing with Man on the Moon was trying to write a song that had more "yeahs" in it than any song that Kurt had written. And I think I succeeded.
We had a really good time making Automatic for the People.
Night swimming.
The thing I remember most was I rented this purple Mustang convertible. And I remember Michael and myself riding up and down the streets of South Beach, blasting a cassette of the record with the roof down and the volume all the way up and singing along and really enjoying it and knowing that we'd made a pretty decent record.
I guess I don't really know how I feel about the record at this point, except that people like it a lot. I'm glad that they do. And I'm honored that it's been chosen to be a part of this program. I mean, that's really awesome.
Coming up next, the all-singing, all-dancing final part of our countdown as we find out who's made it into the top 10 of the 100 greatest albums. The 10 albums that set the world alight, left us crying like a baby, or made us just want to strip right down to our socks and underwear. Or maybe that's just him.
Good day, sunshine.
When Revolver came out in '66, it was just at the start of what's known as Swinging London.
Good day, sunshine.
England had just won the World Cup. It was a beautiful summer. You know, everything was on and up. And Revolver is an up album.
I feel good.
The Beatles had the idea, first of all, of making a title that had some kind of double meaning. They'd done that already with Rubber Soul, and they were toying with things that were circular, round, like a disc. And Magic Circle, somebody came up with Magic Circle, one of them, and then 4 sides to a circle. And then I remember Paul came up with the title Pendulum. I remember that particularly because we then all had jokes about swinging both ways. But Pendulum wasn't to be the final one. Eventually it was Revolver.
Ah, look at all the lovely people.
I think Revolver's such a brilliant album
Eleanor Rigby.
because Lennon and McCartney, as separate songwriters, have matured so much, and you know, especially McCartney's ballads and sense of melancholy on that album is so beautiful.
Do any of you have plans to record on your own?
We might. No? In fact, we have done, I think. Well, Eleanor Rigby was Paul on his own, and we were just drinking tea.
Tomorrow Never Knows is my favourite track on that album because as an experimental piece of music, it's up there with Stockhausen and all what's meant to be the best experimental music in classical music.
Turn off your mind, relax and float downstream.
John in particular always wanted to sound different. I mean, he said, I want to sound as though I'm on the moon, you know, well, God knows what somebody sounds like when they're on the moon, but it wasn't like the day before again. You know, it's got to be different.
John called me one day and said, we are in the studio and we're doing the next LP, and do you have any ideas what to do for a cover? So I just started drawing on the top corner with John's hair and went down, and then I had Ringo, and I said, why doesn't John take his hand and put it on John's leg? I thought it was funny. Another thing is, normally on a record cover, you have on the top, you've got the name of the band. And with the Beatles, I thought, you don't need this.
I think it changed everybody's life. I think it gave music the kick up the backside that it needed.
I mean, my God, that band could construct a chorus and a riff. Everyone can sing Paradise City, can't they? I bet you can. I bet you can do it.
Take me down to the Paradise City with the grass is green and the girls are pretty. I want you, please.
For the most part, none of us lived anywhere. So during the whole making of that record, it was going in at noon, you know, recording your bit, staying there until probably about 11 o'clock at night, and then going out and looking for wherever the best party was going to be. Just drink as hard as you could, and if you were lucky, pick up a girl who would let you sleep on her couch or whatever, and then just, no matter where that was, the next morning, try and figure out some way to hitch a ride to get to the studio. Every single song on that record was a song about something in particular that was going on at the moment.
Night train, I can never get enough. Night train, never do it.
Like Night Train was written because we were living on Night Train because that was the only liquor that we could afford, which, if you know anything about Night Train, is that Ripple wine that the homeless drunks drink on the street, you know, and it's only like $1.99 a bottle. I just remember when we actually wrote the lyrics to that song, we were walking up Clark Street in Hollywood, and we just started on the night train, you know.
In a way, yeah, it was also a pop album because it had mass appeal, you know, because there were great singles on it and great tunes that anyone could sing, you know, like the opening lick of Sweet Child of Mine. You just hear that, it's a classic.
I hated that song for the longest time. And there's a part in the video where there was something in my way on the floor while we were shooting, and I was so pissed off videoing this song that I remember kicking it clear across the room, and it's in the video. I was definitely not happy, and funnily enough, you know, just to spite me, it turned into our biggest hit.
It was just brilliant, absolutely brilliant, and it made me realise, you know, that this is what I'm into, me. You know, I'm going to grow my hair, cut my job and get some hair. That's what I decided.
Like a Prayer was more of an adult album. She was growing up, our audience was growing up, she was taking her existing audience with her and bringing a lot of new people on board.
One of the things that is important about that album is on the album sleeve, there's just her midriff. It's her saying, I'm not just a pair of tits, I'm not just a blonde hairdo, there's more to me than that.
Madonna's song, Oh Father, was just that. It was about her father. They'd always had a very strained relationship, and after the death of her mother, he went on to marry their housekeeper. was really about getting freedom from her father. Just sending a message to him, saying that one day I realised that you were cruel to me, that you didn't understand my feelings. And that was probably the most personal song on the album.
She was constantly evolving, constantly changing. She still is. That's the secret of her success. She has the ability, like a chameleon, of just turning herself inside out.
Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band changed the face of music more than any other album ever.
Sgt. Pepper taught the band to play.
My wife cried when she heard it. It was beautiful. Oh, I loved it. It was so beautiful.
So may I introduce to you?
They had come off the road in the end of August in 1966. Specifically, they said to spend their time in the place where they could do best creatively and artistically, i.e. The recording studio.
It's gone downhill, performance, because we can't develop when no one can hear us, you know what I mean? So for us to perform is it's difficult, gets difficult each time.
Picture yourself in a boat on a river with tangerine trees and marmalade skies.
You've got to look back at how sophisticated the lyrics are compared to what preceded them. It's only 3 or 4 years ago that the Beatles were writing She Loves You, great pop song as it was, but getting excited about the fact that they were saying She Loves You instead of I Love You, which was a big deal at the time. And then, just a short amount of time later, they're using this fantastic imagery, Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds. You listen to it and it plays like a cartoon in your head.
I often went to George's house, and things were sort of starting a little. A few more joints were going to come in, and LSD was on the way, and they were definitely influenced by those things.
Paul, how often have you taken LSD?
About 4 times.
And where did you get it from?
Oh, if I was to say where I got it from, it's illegal and everything, it's silly to say that.
The one thing I do remember, and probably my sort of most memorable track for me, is Day in the Life on Sgt. Pepper, for 2 reasons. One is the first time I heard it, I thought, what a fantastic vocal.
I read the news today, oh boy, about a lucky man who made the grade.
And then, of course, when we put the orchestra on, we had this amazing session with 40-piece orchestra, and it was just one huge party.
I was conducting the last chord on the Day in a Life, and the orchestra was going higher and higher, and George Martin was telling them to do more. Paul said, "Why don't you scream in it? Do anything to just go higher and higher."
It was something that hadn't been done before, and only the Beatles could do something like that.
I love it. I just love it.
Maybe I don't really want to know regarding girls, 'cause I just want to fly.
How comes they allowed to have 2 records and only got 1 then?
Did you ever feel the pain? The morning rain as it sold you to the bone.
I'm not going to get all mythological about it. If you believe that I was sat in a bed sit in Manchester, like the patron saint of British guitar music, because I wasn't. I was writing songs specifically for me. When I wrote Live Forever, I don't think I was even in the band. I think I was a roadie at the time. I suppose the most famous song off the record is Live Forever. I suppose the most inspiring one off it would be Rock and Roll Star. It's actually the one song where I think I've kind of summed it all up for me 10 years ago. I remember finishing that thinking, it's pretty much fucking downhill from here on in, really. Well, we started off recording the album in a place called Monnow Valley in Wales, and it was just up the road from where the Stone Roses were doing the Second Coming. There's one quite famous story that they'd run out of marijuana at the Stone Roses, and Manny had nicked the tractor
on mushrooms and drove out of their studio.
By the time we got there, I think we were all in bed.
And they was all asleep, but I think Greg's, the old bass player, woke up and caught me just reaching over him and nicked this bit of ash off the side of his bloody table.
Anyway, it wasn't working, and then we went down to a place called the Sawmills in Cornwall, which was fucking freezing, and you can only get to it by boat. And I think we knocked it out in about, I don't know, fortnight. Went back to London, mixed it. Hey presto.
And the winners for the best newcomers, Oasis.
Every time some kid will pull you in the street, they always say, "How's your new album?" And you go, "Well, it's great." And they go, "Is it as good as Definitely Maybe?" Always. That's the first thing they fucking say to Spotty Herberts. I'm only realising now how special Definitely Maybe is. I thought I'd gone writing albums like that forever, you know. But, you know, you grow up, don't you?
It probably was one of those records that changed the possibilities of how big a record could be, in a way.
It was ubiquitous. You couldn't go anywhere on the planet and not hear that for about 20 years. It was the wallpaper of the entire planet.
It's a perfect body of work. It's got a good theme. It's great, fucking brilliant. Pink Floyd, genius.
We wanted to have what's now called a concept album, but each song, each part of Dark Side of the Moon, if you like, is relevant to one of the stresses and pressures that impinge on us. It's the sort of universal themes that run through it that affect everyone in life. The main concept, I suppose, is madness, the dark side of the moon.
And if the band you're in starts playing different tunes, I'll see you on the dark side of the moon.
Sid's madness affected all of us.
So like, if you give them a quick, short, sharp shock, they don't do it again. Dig it.
There's things that are relevant to Sid's madness obviously come up in that album.
Right. Do you ever think you're going mad, Roger?
Can I put this down?
We went in the studio and we all got asked to go in and read it to yourself and then just answer it, just say what it meant to you into a microphone.
I'm not frightened of dying at all, because when you gotta go, you gotta go.
One was, what did you think Dark Side of the Moon was?
There is no dark side in the moon, really. Matter of fact, it's all dark.
My first one was, do you think you're mad? And my answer to that was, yes, I've been mad for fucking years.
I've been mad for fucking years. Absolutely years.
It's quite a daunting thought to think I'm swearing in I don't know how many million people's homes.
People have felt duty-bound to attach a mystical element to that record. Somebody came up with this idea that if you play Dark Side of the Moon at the same time as you watch The Wizard of Oz, the two perfectly sync up. I know nothing about it. It's obviously rubbish.
The Wizard of Oz has fired the imaginations of those youthful adults who have never grown old.
Some mad, stoned student spending too much time in his bedroom It was video machine on end. Too much spliff.
Undoubtedly, he is the king of pop. Regardless of anything that's happened to him, anything along the way that people want to think about him, his music changed the face of the world. It was his time to really show this is what a superstar is made of. And it wasn't just about the music on the album, it was the way he performed.
This is the album which forever changed the music business. With Michael Jackson, you learn that you put out single after single after single from the same record. The airplay becomes a commercial for the album. The albums sell like never before.
Norris McWhirter, the editor of the Guinness Book of Records, had brought a copy along for its latest record breaker.
Michael Jackson Thriller is now the highest selling solo album in the history of recorded music.
Michael Jackson's got some really great collaborations on there. It just adds to it, you know. I think seeing Michael Jackson just alone is enough, but to have brilliant collaborations with him is awesome. And did this track with Paul McCartney.
I don't understand the way you think, saying that she's yours, not mine.
Michael and Paul exchange ideas. It was seeing two true masters of the craft collaborating. Rod Temperton, extremely talented individual he is. He was from that funny town in England that I can't remember the name of.
It's close to midnight, something evil's lurking in the dark. Under the moonlight.
It was always a very strange twist in the tale that this kid from Cleethorpes ended up as being one of the writers on one of the biggest selling albums of all time.
Yeah, the 90s, they were the only really significant band that really happened for me.
Nevermind was just a great fucking album.
Rock music had just become all about, you know, crazily extended, pointless guitar solos, real image over content. Nirvana came along, it's just like a blast of fresh air. Nothing superfluous. Every single track was amazing on the album.
The cover image of Nevermind is a classic, iconic rock album cover, really.
Well, I didn't realize I was famous until like maybe a couple of years ago. When I was little, I didn't really care that I was an icon, I guess. But now I use it mostly to impress the girls.
One of my good buddies who's a photographer, he got a job to do these kids underwater, and he said, "Hey Rick, you know, you want $200 to throw your kid in a drink?" And I said, "Sure." Kurt Cobain actually wanted to shoot a photograph of a woman giving birth underwater. But the people at the record company decided that maybe there could be a compromise.
I have my interpretation of it, and then people have theirs. Well, I think it's the innocence is leaving.
It's really bizarre when you look at the sleeve today and just think, my God, that's Kurt. Almost about to drown as the money, the pressures of fame and success just seem to seize him and take him into a place that he absolutely did not want to go to.
Here they are, Nirvana.
They'd been a real underground band. Kurt really belonged to the underground and sort of believed passionately in that. Unfortunately, Kurt, he'd written a load of pop anthems on this record, and you know, it just went absolutely ballistic. I don't think like Kurt could really deal with that, because it really wasn't what he was about.
One of the reasons that we're still talking about Nirvana today, over 10 years after Cobain died, is because of the deep emotional impact that Kurt Cobain's voice had on a whole generation.
It's a big record of mine. I listened to that a lot when I was a teenage boy. I mean, that lot, they actually make you sick how good they are. I mean, physically make you sick. And touch the flame.
Where the Streets Have No Name opens the album, and after that, it's all over. It's a record that grabs you by the throat and doesn't let go.
I remember when I was a little kid, the first time I heard about U2. They were on the cover of Time magazine, and the headline was something along the lines of they were the biggest band in the world, basically. And I couldn't believe that. You know, I couldn't believe an Irish band were the biggest band in the world. I was very shocked by that. And I think U2, and particularly with the Joshua Tree, it put the Irish music industry on the map, really.
The black and white photos of them out in that desert locale gave a visual clue to what they were all about. You know, it's an Irish band making what is essentially an American record.
Whatever term you want to call it, like landscape or, you know, or modern Americana or whatever people called it at the time, you know. I think at the heart of it was just a band really on top of their game.
So they were 99 of the 100 greatest albums ever made. There's just one question left on everybody's lips.
So what's the number one going to be?
Who I think will win it will be...
Gould.
Oh, I haven't got a clue. I really haven't.
I think the number one record will be, and I'm rather hoping it will be, ABBA's Arrival.
Oh, that's a hard question.
I'd like Elton to get in.
I'd like the Beatles to be number one. Probably Busted, or Girls Aloud.
Or a Wings album.
Queen is Dead.
Something like Nirvana's Nevermind is going to be number one.
I don't know, Sgt. Pepper's.
The Doors.
Nevermind the Bollocks, like the Sex Pistols.
I definitely think it should be one of the Beatles albums.
It could be Oasis.
I'd vote for Pet Sounds.
Well, they're all wrong, but it finally is time to reveal the greatest album ever, as voted for by Channel 4 viewers. If that's okay with you.
It's one of those records I play over and over and over again.
Just quality. As simple as that. It was just pure quality. It really sort of set a certain standard, I think. It's very innovative.
It really came roaring out of the speakers when you first put it on.
It is bold and ambitious, but then there's still beautiful, intimate moments.
First time I heard a record, I was in my dressing room, and I remember hearing the keyboard part. I heard it from the dressing room, from the stage was maybe, you know, a quarter of a mile away. And I remember all the musicians kind of looking at each other, and this is really interesting, this is good.
This real anxiety-ridden lead singer who just had this beautiful voice. From that point on, I just went and bought every single Radiohead record, and I became a total Radiohead head.
So tired, bring down the cover.
OK Computer is them really stretching and pushing the boundaries of what they think they're capable of doing and what their audience think they're capable of doing. And it is a classic, brilliant record.
I'll take
after the Bends, the pressure was on to come up with a follow-up album. The band were asking questions whether they wanted to carry on doing it anymore. You know, it's like, what are we doing here? Do I want to make this my job for life? However, with the success of the Bends and touring the world, they had their own place where they could go and make music. And so OK Computer came out of that, more of a homely environment.
Radiohead really seemed to gel with St Catherine's Court. They were definitely interested in the house, the history of it, the spiritual side. There are a few ghosts there. The whole album does sound as though it's been recorded in a haunted house.
OK Computer's landmark record. As time goes on, more and more it will be seen as the important record it is. It's complex and it's got layers and it's very ambitious musically.
Doesn't get old the more you listen to it. That's a rare thing to be able to pull off in songwriting. They did it over and over again on that record.
I don't really know that there is a best record ever made, but if OK Computer made it, that would be pretty good.
That you chose, that you chose.